My working life is spent researching the psychology of appearance, the impact of the way people feel about their looks on their daily lives. And to be honest, this obsession of mine has been a bit of a social disaster over the years. You can imagine what it's like when you meet people for the first time and they ask you what you do. I explain, and then there's a pause, and they say, "A professor of what? Why? Surely preoccupation with appearance is just a benign pastime, it's just a bit of fun." Well, it's certainly true that since records began, humans have always been interested in making the most of the looks they've been dealt in the great genetic card game of life. But things have changed over the past few decades. Forces have transpired to create a very different world, a world in which the majority of people are unhappy with their appearance. And research now shows very clearly that this dissatisfaction with appearance has a range of negative impacts. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes explaining to you the extent of this problem and arguing that the time has come for us to make a stand and to change this dissatisfaction with appearance that's causing so much damage. First, let me try and show you the extent of the problem. So large-scale surveys tell us that 80% of adults are unhappy with their looks, going so far as to say for 60% of them that they are ashamed of their appearance. And the agony of not looking good enough now blights the lives of the majority of young people. Research shows a range of negative impacts on people's physical health, on their psychological well-being, on things like their social functioning and how they do at school and at work. For example, schoolgirls regularly have competitions for who can eat the fewest calories in a day, a week, or a month. Their concentration and grades are affected by their disordered eating, and some go on to develop full-blown eating disorders and other forms of self-harm. 50% of girls and women who take up smoking and who maintain smoking do so because they want to use the cigarettes to suppress their appetite. They'd rather be slim than worry about the risks of cancer. It's not just girls and women, though. Boys are becoming gym junkies and taking protein shakes very regularly, long before their bodies are capable of developing the muscles they aspire to. And people are undergoing ever more aggressive cosmetic procedures so they can try and match up to the images in magazines and on TV. For example, in China, people have their legs broken and plates inserted just to gain a few centimeters in height. And in the UK, 1 in 5 girls wants breast implants as soon as they can persuade a surgeon to operate, as soon as they're old enough to make that decision themselves. And in Argentina, normal healthcare insurance now includes the provision for 1 cosmetic procedure a year. So that's something like a facelift, a tummy tuck, or a breast augmentation. And in that country, it's become a status symbol to be seen walking the streets with bandages for surgery. There are also changes in the way we define ourselves. So when we're trying to assess how good we are at things, our sense of self-worth, instead of relying on things like how good we are in relationships, how socially skilled we are, how good we are at work, more and more people are defining themselves in relation to their appearance. And as their appearance inevitably falls short of the ideal, then they get to the point of feeling anxious, depressed, unworthy. So let me also mention my own particular specialty in this field, which is the psychology of disfigurement. 1 in 5 people look different from the general population, either as a result of a birth anomaly or a disease such as vitiligo, which is a skin disease you see on the slide here, or perhaps they have an accident or they have scarring as a result of treatment. Can you imagine what this appearance-obsessed world of ours feels like to them? So how have we got to this point? What forces have come together to create this very different world? Well, we get a very toxic message from TV and magazines. We're bombarded with images of beautiful people and an endless stream of articles and programs, all telling us about the many, many so-called faults with our appearance. And then we have the glossy advertisements from the TV and fashion industries. They tell us how to correct those faults. You use the lotions and potions, you take the nips and tucks, you have the hair transplant, all variety of implants. And the implicit message in those ads, maybe not so implicit in some of them, is that we can buck the natural biological processes of aging and just wipe out those physical features that we've inherited from our parents and our grandparents. Social media tells us that our natural looks are not good enough to be posted online. Before we post photographs of ourselves, we Photoshop them so that we look as good as possible. I guess it's not that surprising because out there are legions of so-called friends just ready to critique and comment on our appearance. And the internet has ensured that the same appearance ideals are shared worldwide, and it's reduced the diversity that used to exist in different cultures and the different preferences that people used to have for the sorts of appearance that they found attractive. So irrespective of age, social class, gender and income, we've moved from a world in which we used to compare our looks to those of our friends and family to a very different world, a world in which our appearance ideals are dictated by celebrities and supermodels. And as an illustration of this, you need look no further than the dolls we give our children. As you can see, Barbie in the 1960s and Ken, her boyfriend, in the 1960s looked pretty ordinary, not particularly spectacular, quite close to the kind of images that the kind of way that young people looked at that time. But now Barbie's had extensive plastic surgery, Ken has been to the gym and he takes steroids, and those are the lengths they have to go to achieve their unnatural looks. So across the generations, we've come to believe those messages in the TV and magazines. We've come to believe that if only we could get closer to those appearance ideals, then our lives would be happier, we'd be more successful, we'd have more fun. But we also know from research that this internalization of these messages is leading to a whole raft of damaging effects for the majority of the population to a greater or lesser degree. So that's why I do this work, and that's why I can't agree with people when they say that appearance is just a benign pastime and just a bit of fun. Researchers here in Bristol, in the States and Australia, have developed a range of interventions, a range of programs and campaigns to try and help people whose lives are blighted by body image dissatisfaction and people who struggle with disfigurement. And they're delivered in colleges and universities and online. And they work, but it's not enough. We're facing a tidal wave, and that tidal wave is fueled by very powerful industries, cosmetics industries, fashion industries, and the media. And if we want change, we're going to have to do it at a societal level. And to achieve that, we're all going to have to play a part. So if, like me, you want a different world, here are 3 things that you can do that will make a difference. Firstly, engage positively with people who look different from the norm. Don't be embarrassed, don't be afraid. Go up to them, say hello, and talk to them, at least for long enough to find out whether or not you want to get to know them better. Cut out that appearance talk, both to yourself and to other people. Smile when you look at yourself in the mirror. Stop ruminating about how much better life would be if only you could lose those extra pounds. And when you see your friends, talk to them about who they are, not what they look like. So instead of things like, "You look great, have you lost weight?" you could try something which is very common. You could try something like, "Great to see you, I really always enjoy catching up with you." And cast yourself as yours disgusted Tunbridge Wells. Complain about the content of the TV and the programs, and stop buying those magazines that endlessly point out the faults in your appearance. So this is my call to you to go to arms. It's time to end the tyranny of dissatisfaction with appearance. Thanks very much.